Welcome, this is Hakeem Alexander. This is Hypno-Athletics, Exercising Your Mind. This is part 4 of the presentation called Unlocking the Secrets of Thought with Clinical Hypnosis. So far, I outlined the 4 hypnotic stages of competence, moving from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence to conscious competence, and then finally subconscious competence. I touched on the rationale for my continued use of different variations of systematic desensitization due to the smoking cessation program and the incremental cigarette withdrawal program, also the psychiatrist Peter Bregin's what I call the withdrawal protocol from his instructions on withdrawing from antipsychotics, neuroleptics, also from my own experiments and experiments with withdrawing from caffeine and marijuana. And then I started in on my emotional incubation method and why that's very important for making changes, understanding and having a raised awareness of emotional intelligence and emotional mastery. And so I'm going to touch on that again, and then I'm going to move into something else I developed called Psychematics, which is basically a very helpful conceptual metaphor based on beginner's physics and classical physics in the field of what's called kinematics. But first, let me go back into the emotional incubation method and why this is very important. And so, and we're going to talk about actors again, because I have a program where of successfully helping actors and entertainers to more consistently deliver their best performances with greater confidence and accuracy. So I'm going to just use what I'm familiar with, and they will be great ways to introduce you to these concepts and help you to understand it. So emotional incubation, why is it important? Because a lot of times this goes along with the unconscious incompetence. This is what most people are unconscious of most of the time. And even when a lot of people say that they are aware of emotions playing a factor, they don't know exactly how to use them, and they don't have a process for using it. So this is what this is about, is giving you these exact tools and methods to use it. And that's why I'm going to elaborate more and spend more time here on the emotional incubation method. So the emotional incubation method starts with sampling. So we have 3 parts. It's sampling, anchoring, and association, or also known as reassociation. And so sampling is basically you find a successful emotional period of your life where you achieve something, where you won, and you sample that. You take a little sample of it, and just like how any good scientist would in the laboratory when they want to grow a culture of something like that, you take a sample of something, and then you isolate it, you put it inside a petri dish or some other containment unit, and then you feed it and you grow it until you multiply it, and that's what this is really all about. And so you're going to find an emotion of winning when you've won something, because it's not the details and the visualization necessarily. All that stuff's important, but like I can even go into, for example, in the law of attraction, there was a movie, The Secret, that came out in 2006, and for some reason Esther and Jerry Hicks were edited out of it. I don't know why, but they had one of the most important parts of it, which was called the emotional guidance system. And basically what that talked about was that when you are in alignment with your goals and you're doing the things that are required for you to get to your goals, you'll feel good. And you don't exactly know why. It's not like you're seeing any specific details or anything like that, like some people either can or claim. that they see like very vivid details of the future and things like that, but more it's a feeling. Like you either feel good about it or you don't. And if you don't feel good about it, you simply change your behavior and the things that you're doing so that your behavior is more in alignment with the actual ideals and the things that you want to achieve. So, and that's what the emotional incubation method is in part like. So you want to sample something in your life when you've achieved something great, and the reason why is so that eventually you can associate that with your current experience of what you're trying to achieve. And so using the example of actors, like I had stated before, so and then we're gonna go back and talk from time to time about also the 4 hypnotic stages of competence as well. That comes into play here. So again, the reason for the emotional incubation method is for you to be able to recall and stimulate and like pull up into your conscious experience and awareness an emotion of achievement and success and winning and confidence at will, so that you can then anchor it and attach it to your current experience, so that reassociates and replaces the the negative associations of failure and losing and disappointment, because that's what happens unconsciously. That's the unconscious incompetence part that we're working with the emotional incubation method. So emotional incubation method, here's some very specific things to do that are physical. They come down to simply relaxing your body and getting your body into a state that is more like when you are winning and achieving. You may be excited, like your heart might beat faster, your body temperature might get warmer and all that stuff like that. When you're winning, like you're really excited about something, about going on a date or winning a prize or winning a competition or something like that. But it's also a different type of excitement than a nervous type of fear that you have when you're disappointed or when you lose or when you fail. And so a lot of times because then a lot of times when you get over something like that, it's like a climax, right? You're relaxed afterwards. You feel good, like you're not struggling and striving and pushing, at least for a little while, until you move on to your next goal. So you do some breathing techniques, you relax yourself, you get yourself into a relaxed and calm state where you feel really good and you feel really happy, and it's where you're real chill and relaxed. That's one of the main things to do, and I'm not going to go into any details about different types of breathing techniques, but there's a whole lot of ways to relax your body and feel relaxed. You can stretch. There's certain types of yoga you can do. Some people relax when they do a kickboxing class or a Pilates class, or they go for a run, or even, listening to music, which mine is going kind of crazy here for a second. So that's what you want to do, is you get yourself, you find the memory to sample, or you create one, and it's an emotion of achievement and winning, and it's positive of success and attaining your goal. And you cultivate that. It's like I talked about earlier, scientists in a petri dish, and you want to do the breathing exercises along with this recalled memory of when you're winning and achieving. And then you drop an anchor into it, a physical anchor, like tugging on your ear, touching the bridge of your nose, blinking your eyes at a certain rate, snapping your fingers. And then there's also verbal cues and anchors that you use. You could say things as simple as achievement. You could say winning. You could say got the part. And so that's where the examples of acting comes in that I intended to use. I don't know if I'm going to use it right now. But so what you're doing is by dropping those anchors is so that at will, whenever you want to, whenever you're having the current experience, for example, like going into an audition and rehearsing for a part so that you can go into audition and nail it and land it, what you're doing is that so that you replace those unconscious feelings of failure and loss and disappointment that you might be having when you were going to go on that audition, is you use that verbal anchor or that physical anchor, and you you tug on the ear, touch the nose, snap the fingers, say the words, so that those positive emotions of achievement and success come into play, and that you keep on doing that repetitively. You're doing it consciously. You're focusing and concentrating on doing it whenever you are rehearsing or looking at your script, or whenever the thought of it comes into your mind of, oh man, I gotta go to that audition. You bring up that emotion so that you can reassociate that experience of the audition that's upcoming, and every time you rehearse, with the emotion of achievement and success and winning. And so that's the importance of the emotional incubation method. And then I'm going to touch a little bit here on something called psychematics, which is the conceptual metaphors that come from kinematics. But this is important because this is a way to monitor in some ways. But it's also very intriguing. It's something that's still in the work, so it's not a complete idea, and I'm still actually writing and hashing it out. But let's just take something like, first of all, also in the Hypnosis Motivation Institute, they have a really excellent program called the Mental Bank Process, the Mental Bank Program. And one of the things that even George Kappas, when he does a presentation, I'm going to find out if I can drop that link. I'm pretty sure I can share that. It's a free course that the Hypnosis Motivation Institute has online about this mental bank program. But one of the things that they talk about is that one of the most powerful driving forces in human behavior is homeostasis. And homeostasis, like for example, if you get too cold, the body starts to shiver to get back to an optimal body temperature or functional body temperature. You get too hot, you start to sweat, so the body cools down. If there's too much sugar in your blood, your pancreas secretes insulin to regulate the blood sugar. Too much salt in your cells, the potassium exchange and water, more comes into the cell, and the sodium gets outside of the cell, and so on and so forth. For balancing, homeostasis. Everything's about homeostasis, and it's no different than the subconscious mind. And there's something that I like to call the familiarity zone. Some people call it the comfort zone, but again, I've just kind of tweaked it a little bit. It's a familiarity zone, and the familiarity zone is what the body, in the human mind, the subconscious, unconscious, likes to stay in. It likes to maintain its homeostasis. And so in psychematics, I call this like Newton's first law of motion. It's inertia. So for example, it states that a body at rest will stay at rest, and a body in motion will stay in motion until it's acted upon by an outside force. So if something is still, it's not going to go anywhere until a force propels it to move forward. And if something's going in a certain direction, it's not going to go off course of that direction unless something like a force, whether internally or something, knocks into it to change its direction. And so this is, in psychematics, the same thing with human behavior. We're not going to change our behavior. We're not going to get going or change direction from some place that we don't want to be going on unless we actually do something, take a force, which in this case is using the emotional incubation method, to then start to consciously be competent about reassociating the current experience with the new emotional intelligence and mastery that you have, and reassociating it with success and achievement. Looks like I'm going to go on to a part 5 here. So this is Unlocking the Secrets of Thought with Clinical Hypnosis. My name is Hakeem Alexander of Hypno Athletics, exercising your mind.